All right. Now, how do we know whether Tinubu is a good president in Nigeria? We don't need to go and ask him. We need to go to Nigeria and see it in the life of Nigeria. Our ancestors, no matter what you believe in and how you believe in it, how strong or weak it is, we never rise up from the grave. I come to do your work for you.
It's part of who I am. It's my identity. And it's manifested in the things that I do. And as you rightfully said.
But when I was saying that, everything that we need to build the most magnificent city wall is in our brain.
That's right.
There is a thinking substance that is responsible for everything. Now we just need to find the dot that we need to connect.
David, a handbook on leadership was created by chance. It was during one of the most difficult times of my life when I got the unction, the urge to sit and write. And I wasn't sure what I was writing. I wasn't sure what I was writing about, but I was leaning on God for sustenance in that season. And it was just one of those days where I spent a lot of time with God in the morning period as I woke up. And then I heard a write. So I sat down. I had this tiny laptop. It was an HP notebook, and it was pearl white. It was a gift from a family member. And I decided, okay, I'm going to sit here at my kitchen counter and I'm just going to write whatever comes to me because I just heard that. So that's what I did. I sat and I listened and I wrote what I heard in my spirit. And what this urge turned into has amazed me. It has been a help to me and to many others who have had the opportunity to read and understand the contents therein. Don't let the title fool you. It says, David, a handbook on leadership. And you're wondering how did these two things come together? How does David, meaning King David in the Bible, come together with leadership? Okay, he was an amazing king, but what does that have to do with all that I told you in the background? I'll backtrack a bit to tell you that every time I spend time with God, I learn something new. And that means also going into the Bible, going into the stories and connecting with the characters there. And I would study some part of the scripture, and then I'd feel the urge to write. And I started this Instagram page, and I'd be writing every day, every time I get that urge, I would be sharing whatever was on my heart, whatever lesson I learned. And most times it's something that I needed to change about myself. I needed to grow in some area that I needed to grow in that I would be writing about. And it was received well in social media land. So it encouraged me to continue doing it. So when we fast forward to this one day, I guess I thought it was just going to be another one of those days, except that there was a slight difference. I needed to do this one on my little notebook, not just on my phone and Instagram app, right? So I was reading books, the two books of Samuel 1 and 2, for maybe about 3-4 week period prior to this. And I thought, okay, so I'm going to write on that. And I'm saying I thought, but notice at this point I had no idea what this was going to be. But as I started, the words poured out. And there were points where I would be writing and I'd be in tears, or there would be these aha moments of joy, or even an understanding of the things that I was going through. So I was learning while I was writing. I was learning while I was pouring words onto paper. And this exercise, this task that I was given, lasted maybe about 3 to 4 months. But I would get into the zone and I would write for hours. My fingers would be cramping, but I wanted to pour out. And there was this one particular lesson that so resonated with me that I was writing and tears were falling. So, David, a handbook on leadership, came to being in September 2017, and this is the first edition. And I was so proud of what, happened, what transpired, what was created. But I knew nothing about marketing. I knew nothing about, remember, I didn't intend to write a book. I intended to just write whatever was in my heart. And I wasn't sure about publishing. I knew nothing, absolutely nothing. So I found out about Amazon publishing and I went through that channel. And it was so seamless. Everything just worked out perfectly. And on the 25th of November 2017, I published, printed, and shipped a few copies. And I decided I was going to give them away. I gave away these copies. And it's a nice little thin, handbook, because that's what it was intended to be, I guess. That's what happened. But there were times in the years that followed that I would be at the office and I would open this book and I would have a challenge in leading my team. And God would remind me, but you have the answer. And I always had a copy either in my bag, and then I created this little library in my office. So I'd have different inspirational books, and of course my book had to be on the shelf. So I would pull it and I would go to one of the chapters and I'll start reading, and I would be given food for that particular situation. And I knew in those moments that this was not me writing, this was a message that God had for me and for anyone who would pick it up and go through the pages and absorb that information that was poured out. And one of the, or should I say two of the main people that I wanted to ensure had these messages on how to lead your team or your home or in any space that you find yourself were my two children. And I dedicated the book to them because as I do things, I want to be able to be an example to them that anything in this world, anywhere you find yourself, you can be of use. You can encompass the things that are important to you and share them. David is not just a book to sit and read and put aside. It is, as the title implies, a handbook. It's meant for you to always have at your right hand, at your left hand, in your space so that you can refer. If you're facing challenges with, as I said, your work team and as a business consultant, that is one of the first things that come to me. You can find an answer there. The character and the qualities of the character of David, as flawed and as human as he was a man after God's own heart. And so those characters translate into good business leadership, into good parenting, into good friendship, into, good stewardship of the people who are around you and who are in your care. You can be a leader in your school, you can be a leader in your home, you can be a leader on the job, you can be a leader in your friend group. You are a leader wherever you go because that's who we are created to be. And leading does not mean bossing someone around. Leaders harness the qualities of the people, the good qualities of the people around them, the strengths, and they direct them in a way that is synergistic to their lives and to those around them. So in the last year, I've been hearing it's time to upgrade. And I was like, what does that mean, God? Because I talk to God. And I realized that I had grown and I needed to develop that first handbook into something more. So here comes the expanded edition that I'm so happy to have completed and will be, premiered in June. And 17th June is that expected date to be published, and it's going to be available as part of a series on Amazon. And this expanded version now has, of course, more detailed descriptions and explanations and developing the character even more. But the thing that I'm excited about are the side notes and the questions that prompt group study, and there's space for you to actually make notes so that you have a study guide within this handbook. I'm excited about that because now groups, while we could just read together, now we can study together and we can share our thoughts because you record your thoughts and in each chapter. And I know, like, if you are like me, when you're reading something and there's a key phrase or a thought that comes to you, you're writing, but the spaces are limited. So now there's more space for you to write your thoughts while reading this particular part of the book. So I'm excited to launch this new expanded vision with study guide of David, and it's a brand new cover, it's a brand new look, and it speaks more to what the contents will give you. So while the first cover showed hand in hand, it's God walking with you in your private moments. This one speaks about leadership, and when you see it, you will understand what I mean. And I am encouraging persons to get a copy when it's launched. You will not regret this. You will not want to put this down. You will want to keep it in your bag, in your brief, in your backpack, on your desk, in your kitchen study area. You would want to have this. Why? Because we face problems every day in our lives, in every aspect of our lives, challenges that sometimes we don't have the answer to. But you're going to find that as you read, you're not only encouraged to read this, but it prompts you to say, well, where is this story coming from? And there's so many references, and you can go to that big old reference book called the Bible, and you can get more life lessons. And a lot of us, we read the Bible, those of us who follow, even if you are non-Christian, but you read the Bible because it's a good book. You want further explanations. This handbook, this reference and study guide helps you to develop the technique of breaking down the word and understanding how it's applicable to your own personal life. When I tell you that even as the author, that book has been helpful to me because the contents therein are truth. It is God's word. And so I bring my personal life experience and God's word and the impact of God's word on me and on those situations. And I share with you in a very personal way because they're real stories written so that it secures people's identity so you enjoy it. It's good storytelling, but it also teaches. And I hope that what I've shared in that will add value to your life and that you will be able to share that as you read it. Share a copy to someone that you love and that you care for and that you care to build with. because it's a book that will build you. So, publishing date, our premiere date is June 17th, 2025, and I am so excited, Obehi.
Thank you so much for that, Lenore. That is really beautiful. That is really beautiful. Uh, I think leadership is one of those things that we should continue to talk about in the community. And of course, I'm looking at the African diaspora community and the importance that leadership plays there. But of course, also in our mother continent, Africa, and in the rest of the world, actually, there is no part of the world that doesn't need good leadership. Because where you have good leadership, the people enjoy in the sense that the people are
Mhm,
happy.
mhm.
And leadership is not something that we just need to preach about, it's something that we need to demonstrate in the sense that
Absolutely.
when you are a good leader, you don't need to do a lot of philosophy about it, like saying, I am good, I am good, I am good. No, you need to put it in action.
Demonstrate it.
You need to
Yes.
demonstrate it. Because if we need to know whether you are an effective leader or not, we need to go to the people that you are leading. That is how we know.
Absolutely.
Because now you are
Absolutely.
giving evidence of what you mean by being their leader. You know, this is an argument that can also be very important within the political spectrum. It has sometimes we see a lot of people fighting, including involving in all sort of corrupt practices to become leader. Okay, now you succeed, you are a leader in the sense that, okay, in a conventional way about it, maybe you do an election, you went and falsify results, you bribe people so that you can become their leader. Okay, now you become their leader. Now, what is the evidence of your good leadership in the life of the people that you live? You don't need to bribe your way about that because you cannot bribe the people in their way of life. Your leadership, your good or bad leadership will be reflected in the day-to-day life of the citizenry, the people that you are leading. Because it's about leaders and the lead. It's about you who is standing in the front and the people who are following you. If you are a good leader, we don't need to come and ask you about that. We will just see the people. We will see the people. Uh, 25th of last month, which was the African Day of Liberation, we did an episode here where I was making a good reference of what we often see as democracy in Africa, at
Mm,
least, where many people think that for you to be a good leader, a prerequisite will be that you are democratically elected. Okay, I have no problem about that. I have no problem about democracy. But where I have a problem is, what if you are a bad person and you manage to make your way in through the democratic means? Because you can manipulate democracy too.
yes, you can.
Does that mean you are a good leader just because you are democratically elected? No. I was making a good,
Oh,
a very nice comparison between the democracy in Nigeria, because Nigeria is it's a democratic system. The current president is elected through the means of democracy. And of course, we understand also the kind of manipulation that took place there. But by and large, he is the president of the country, Tinubu. All right. Now, how do we know whether Tinubu is a good president in Nigeria? We don't need to go and ask him. We need to go to Nigeria and see it in the life of Nigerian people. If
absolutely.
he is an effective leader, we will see it in the marketplace. We will see it in the life of the Nigerian people. We will see it in the resources that are in Nigeria and the administration of that resources, in
Absolutely.
how the people of the country are faring. This is the evidence of whether or not you are a good leader. It's not just how you get to the office. It's when you become a leader, what do you do with that power that you have hold? Because you cannot be a leader now and start blaming people that, okay, they didn't allow me to do the. No, no, no. You said you wanted to lead. Now you are their leader. So lead. So I was making a comparison between Nigeria and Burkina Faso. You see,
Mm,
before Ibrahim came, the current president of Burkina Faso, we had another leader in Burkina Faso who have inspired a lot of African, including the African diaspora. His name is Thomas Sankara. It's not just the name Thomas Sankara that people are fascinated about. It is the simple ideology that he had about leadership. In that we need to use the resources of the local people. Because I see you were mentioning that, no? No. We need to use the resources in in Burkina Faso for the good of the Burkina Faso, and the people of Burkina
mhm,
Faso to make life easier for them. This was what they killed the guy for.
hmm.
So what we are saying is that we need good because when we have good leader, the people will be happy. We don't need you can bribe few people to become a leader, but you cannot bribe the entire country to be saying good thing
To be
about you.
happy.
Because if you are a
Yes.
bad person, they will say it. If you are a good person, they will also say it. You see, I am
If
not
they are
for Burkina
free to say
Faso.
it.
I love what Ibrahim, what the current president of Burkina Faso is doing for his country, because he is a good leader based on what he is doing for his country, not based on how he got into position of leadership. You see, that is not what
Correct.
I'm talking about now. I'm talking about what are you doing as a
Doing.
leader, not how you
Absolutely.
came into the position of leadership. Okay, even though that process is also very important, because in Nigeria we are used to say excellency, excellency, which is actually even a good thing. In that you are occupying a position of excellence, but are you doing an excellent work?
Ah,
Because if you are not doing an excellent work, you are not qualified to be called excellent. Because that thing is not an award. It's an afterword. After you have done the work, now we say, okay, you are
that's
an
it.
excellent man. Not based on how tall you are, based on how smart you are, is able to talk, or based on how you walk, you are beautiful. No, based on what you do in
Do.
relation to the position that you are holding as a leader.
Mm,
So, you know,
absolutely.
I would like you to say a few more things about that, because I repeat again, both within the African diaspora, which is where we focus our attention. You see, I just immediately switched to that because that is our audience, and of course, based on
Absolutely.
also where our motherland, which is Africa. So I want you to speak more about how we should find leaders, because it is lacking. We are suffering because we lack good leadership. How do we find them?
Yes. So there's this argument about whether leaders are born or whether they're created. And I believe that it's a bit of the two. When, let's go back to, like I said, the first business book ever, and that's the Bible. There were so many great leaders, and one can argue that many of the people who were chosen as leaders were not necessarily good people in the beginning. If you think of Moses, who killed someone, he was an Egyptian, or he was raised Egyptian rather, and you think about his background, and then now he's leading God's people. He was chosen to lead. He was born in a leadership position, but that leadership position in Egypt, and many of us love the Egyptian, and I'm not speaking of the country, but I'm speaking of the characteristics of the ancient Egyptian system, where we have these leaders who are robed and identified by what they look like and their position. So we look for people in leadership in positions, and we think because they're in a position, because they're economically strong, because they have certain types of training, that they are good leaders. But when Moses was in leadership, then he realized that he was leading, and he was leading in a bad way. He was following the footsteps of his then father. And that didn't work, did it? Because he saw people suffering. So then he switched. But then when he switched, he did a wrong thing. So we see him and we say, well, how could he be a good leader? He gave up the power and the glory of leadership as an Egyptian, and then he ended up running away. But here he is leading a people into safety. He's leading a people into the right direction. He's leading a people into a promise of good things. There's a bit of work, yes, but he's walking the path with them. And when we bring that now to a present day situation, when we are looking for leaders, particularly in the diaspora, we want leaders who understand the struggle of the people, who can empathize with them, who can walk the road with them, who can search the diaspora and find the persons that are born leaders. They have the air and the charisma of, that pulls people to them, but they are leaders of integrity who are seeking to build and not break down, who are seeking to share and not hoard, right? Who are seeking to educate and not oppress. Leaders necessarily need to come from a place of strength and knowledge and self-confidence and confidence in the God that they serve, so that when they present themselves, they are a light to the people. They direct them by their actions. So if you as a leader are corrupt and your actions are corrupt, then it by necessity, or by default rather, you are leading a corrupt people. You are leaving the people to follow your bad examples, and those who don't follow your examples fall by the wayside and suffer. But when you care for the people in front of you and you show them the way by walking that path with them, then you automatically guide them. You're the light that tells them, this is the direction that I want you to go in. This is best for us as a people, not just for the individual. So you sacrifice the benefits of the singular for the good of the singular for the benefits of the entirety of your population. So when a leader is born, there is God's hand in that. But then leaders can create even better leaders. By example, by showing the way. And like I said, it's evident, as you have even pointed out, Obehi, in the way the people manifest that leadership. That one person is a ray of light in their community. And that ray of light starts bouncing off and shining through the lives of the people. And the people develop and they grow and they show up as leaders for their own smaller communities. And they prosper. And when we talk about prosperity, we're not talking about becoming rich overnight and that sort of thing, but they have enough, sufficient. They're not lacking. They are comfortable in their, being able to provide for themselves, having jobs, having education, having health. These are the things that when we look at a society and we look at the quality of these aspects of their community, we can tell whether or not they have good leadership. If you have people who are unhealthy, in an unhealthy environment, poorly educated, only a handful, 1% or 2% of them are benefiting while the rest suffer, clearly leadership is at fault. It's not that the people don't want, everybody wants something better for themselves. But if they don't have access, and that's another thing, leaders grant access. They make the, what's the word I want to say, use, the commodities and the tools and everything that people need accessible for them to be able to take them up and walk with them and grow and better themselves. So when you look, as you said, and you've rightfully said so, Obehi, when you look at a people, you see the reflection of their leadership.
How do we get to the point that maybe some individual come to accept that they are actually called to do certain things in terms of leadership
Mm.
too? You see, there is a strong belief that I have. I was actually discussing this with my wife a couple of days ago and looking at some of the challenges that are facing us as a people, both from the land of our birth, which is Uromi Esan, and the whole of the country, Nigeria, and of course, by extension, also where we live. Sometimes it almost appears as if the situation is hopeless. Because how can we be going on like this? Life is not supposed to be like this. I was saying, okay, I say this also a number of times, that people read about the paradise in the Bible. But I say the real paradise really is Africa. If you are able to understand what is African in the sense of everything that is available for you to live a quality life. Everything is here for us to live quality life. But how come we live in hellfire in Africa? Somebody was saying yesterday, actually a friend of mine, he was saying, if that is hellfire, then we are probably better to live in that because we already have tasted it sometime here in living in Africa, living in Nigeria to be specific. How can you have everything and you are suffering for lack of what you already have? It doesn't even make any sense. Then I was saying to my wife, we cannot blame this on the ancestor because that's actually where the conversation came in and came from. In maybe our ancestors made the wrong choice, so we are suffering from that wrong choice. I was saying maybe that can also be actually part of it, but I think the greater part of what is responsible for what is happening to us is us. We are the one. We need to take on the responsibility of also leading our time because our ancestors are not here. They didn't have the tools that we have. They make their decision based on the circumstances that they have, based on the time that they lived in, based on what they consider relevance. And for whatever reason they have taken their decision, we certainly cannot blame everything on them for the purpose of glorifying our innocence. Because, by the way, our ancestors, no matter what you believe in and how you believe in it, how strong or weak it is, we never rise up from the grave and come to do your work for you. You are going to free yourself if you want to be free, or you will remain like this for eternity. So I am saying that to ask or provoke the thought. At what point do we realize that all of us actually are supposed to be leaders in one way or the other? You can be a follower in one way, but you can also be a leader in another way. It doesn't mean that everybody must follow for the rest of their life in every way or in every area of their life. That is why I think it is also important that people find the gift that they have. When you eventually discover your gift or your potential power, because power is only potential. In the past, we used to say, we used to say knowledge. We'll say knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. The right application of knowledge is power. But you have knowledge about something. It's only potential. If you apply it, then you become powerful. Okay, let's look at that. Sometimes there are ways to even identify these things. I've said it in a number of my books. You could start by asking yourself, what do you like doing? Because sometimes we don't know, but we are not alone in this world. There are people that are coming to you, always asking you advice or help of one thing or the other. And sometimes there are things to them is very difficult, which to you is very simple because you look at, but how can somebody can just do this easily?
Do this.
For you, it's easy. So your nature, which is your experience, wherever you are coming from and where you live, who you are, But we are really complex, but everything put together is an evidence that this is your gift. Because you can do it easily. Your gift is not supposed to make you suffer. It's supposed to be like a boat that you will be riding on. The water is troubling, but you are on a boat. You are just moving on it. Italian will call it galleggiando. You're just floating. You're just floating in the air because that is your gift. You know how to maneuver things. You know how to move around in this particular area. In this area, you are a leader.
Absolutely. All of that can be summed up in one word, and it's identity. If you do not know your identity, and what is identity, you'll ask, your identity is your belief, your inner belief of who you are, knowing where you came from, and knowing what your purpose is here on earth. Your identity lies in your belief system, at least for me. So, Obehi, you know I'm a God girl. And I go to the Bible for my to seek my identity, because my identity is found in Jesus. And what that tells me, what that book tells me, what is who I am, why I'm here, and that it is God that gives me the power to make wealth, which when you translate it and you apply it across, across everything, every other aspect of life, it's not just about money, but my purpose here is innate. It's part of who I am. It's my identity. And it's manifested in the things that I do. And as you rightfully said, some people come to you and you see they're coming to you consistently about one particular area or two or three particular areas, because there's this thing about you that is able to make the correct choices in that, for that, or give the right answers for that question. There's this thing that you know to do, that you're skilled at, and it's knowledge, yes, but it's something innate. It's something more. Everybody may know how to cook, but you know exactly what to do with that chicken that makes everybody come back to you, and everybody wants to know, what did you add? I did that, but it didn't work. That's my skill. I can take that and I can lead my family by creating a business and showing them I'm taking this gift that I have, this knowledge that I have, and I'm creating something. You do the same. I can lead in that way. I can take the knowledge that I have gained and add it to the qualities that I have, the gifts that I have, and create something bigger and better. Maybe employ 2 or 3 or 10 or 20 or 300 people. And now I'm feeding homes and I'm leading in this way. But it all starts with my identity, knowing who I am. What is my purpose here? What value do I add to my environment, my community, starting at my home, in my church or school or wherever I find myself? How do I add value? How do I enrich people's lives by being in their space? What am I bringing to the table? And make no mistake, it's not always accepted. This is not a fairy tale life that we're living. You're going to have challenges. You're going to have opposition. But once you are walking and living and breathing in your God-given purpose, God is going to make room for that gift. He is going to be able to open doors where your voice is suddenly heard, and they may not even look like you, but here it is. You are the vehicle that carries this thing that everybody wants. And so you walk in that. And when you walk in that, you give others. I remember this poem by Marianne Williamson. You give others the permission to be light because you are light. You give others permission to walk in that, to walk in their light, to let their light shine when you show the way. So they may not even do what you're doing, but they can do what they were placed on this earth here to do. Seeking your identity in others is going to be a problem. You're different, you're unique. And in that uniqueness is where your strength lies. And where your strength is where your purpose is. And where your purpose is that from that vehicle, you can lead others. Leadership is not just about going to university and studying and or being mentored or coached into being this better person and this strength and this pillar in community. That's not. Have you ever seen an old African lady or woman rather in a simple garment sitting in this one spot who is reverenced because of what she shares? She's reverenced, not worshipped, two different things, but she's valued because of her life experience and the way she lived and the joy that she brings in her presence. And people go to her because there's wisdom from her experience, there's knowledge from her life that she's willing to share. That is always sound, that is always adding value to others. And she's simple and quiet in her leadership. She's not on a pedestal. She doesn't have a mic in front of her. Most likely a cup of coffee or tea or a book or nothing at all, just sitting there with a song in her heart. That is leadership. That is purpose. That is knowing your identity and dwelling in it so that you can be of value to the people around you.
Yeah, that is really important. Be a value to other people. That made me remember Mar Moreau. May his soul rest in peace. All right, Mar Moreau had a very important saying about this. Your gift. Anyway, we are looking at it from the point of view of leadership today now. I think he called it 4 principles or something like that. Okay, now I've also interviewed another person who have said something in line with this. And okay, let me reframe the entire picture. And this guy said, take a look at a mango, for example. The mango produces fruit. But you see, by the definition of nature, because I say, at least from my ignorance, my limited understanding, that the best school in life is nature. We need to study nature and
Absolutely
everything will
agree.
be easy. Because nature, which by extension is a manifestation of the entire universe, whether you're looking at a plant, the flowers, because they have been here before we came, because we need to feed on them to be here. We couldn't possibly be here before the garden or the forest.
Absolutely.
All right.
That's the
Now,
order of creation.
therefore, let's take a look at the mango. The mango tree produces the mango fruits. The mango fruit, therefore, is a gift to the nature by the mango tree. But the mango tree doesn't consume the mango fruits. Instead, the mango fruit tells the universe, oh, thank you. Therefore, other animals or plants or whatever are coming to receive it. They will eat the mango fruit.
Yes.
Okay, I could just go on and on to make this example, to prolong this example, but I think people will understand that. What I'm saying in essence is, if we have a gift, we also need to understand that the gift is not for us to serve ourselves.
No, it is
It's
not.
for us to serve humanity, beginning from our community. Because we need to live in the community before we can call ourselves human, no? Otherwise, in Africa, it is said that a man is a man because of other men. Also, a woman is a woman because of other human being around. Because you cannot simply be called a human being Okay, I understand that is contrary to what is believed in the West now, and that I think, therefore I am. In Africa, just because you think it's not enough for you to be called a human being. You need to be a human because you are in relationship to other human beings.
That's right.
Which is to say now that if we can actually prolong that. We have a part of it that is philosophy of that simple thing that a mango does not eat its mango tree, it is mango fruit. The mango tree, therefore, have faith in nature that the other animal that are coming to eat this mango, eat my fruit, are going to leave something behind for me to be. Therefore, it's an equation. Everything is part of everything. Which is to say, if you are a good leader or if you are a leader, you are not supposed to lead yourself. You're supposed to lead people. You're not supposed to say, maybe in the case of Nigeria now, it happened. I'm using Nigeria because Nigeria is a significant country in Africa.
Yes.
And in the whole of the world. If Nigeria were to have a good leader and therefore get it right, and we say it again that a good leader is demonstrated in the life of the people, Nigeria as a country is able to take the entire African continent and everybody will go to the right direction. But if we say that, okay, let Ivory Coast make it, Ivory Coast becoming successful have nothing to do with a failed Nigeria. But we're talking of over 235 million people. No matter how good you are, they will wipe you out in the next minute. I mean, including with their corruption, with their evil. So if somebody was interested in maybe bringing a salvation to African people, we need to look for key countries that are able to say, okay, there is a problem, will we intervene? When there was war in Liberia and Sierra Leone, it would take the Nigerian army. Nigeria as a country at the time was a military dictator system. They call it military dictatorship. But they went and restored democracy in Liberia. Why? Because they have the resources, they have the people. You cannot simply say, okay, maybe Senegal. Okay, Senegal is a good country. They might have also the good intention, but they don't have the resources. They cannot take certain move because you can't make that move. It's impossible for you. You need to have the people. You need to have the resources. You need to have the logistics. You need to have everything for you to take certain decision. That is why we need good leaders in key countries in Africa. If we want Africa to wake up, we need good leadership in strategic countries in Africa. Not just some few, very small, minute countries that really cannot make any difference. Okay, let's go back to the conversation again. Our gift is to serve. If you're an intelligent person, you need to serve with your intelligence.
Correct.
If you are able to read and decipher information, it is not for you. Maybe, okay, now you say, okay, I am good. I'm able to decipher information. So I decipher information and I keep it in my cupboard.
And then what?
Of what use? It's useless. Your deciphering of information, your ability to decode information that other people are not able to decode should be able to help starting from your community where you are, your family, and then gradually extend. Take, for example, the guy, Sergey Brin and what's the other guy again, that created Google. They didn't create Google and put it in their pocket. Google is used by everybody in the world today.
Correct.
Does that mean they're not going to make money? Of course, they make a lot of money, but they are adding value to humanity.
Absolutely.
So wherever we are leaders everywhere. We just need to find in which area am I a leader? But we're also followers. Okay, you are part of with Diaspora community. I am the leader of this community, but there are areas that I want to follow. For example, in your area of this community, of this organization, which is finance, documentation of this process. I tell you, Lenore, please tell me how to follow you. Was that what I said? Tell me, just lead me, because it's not my thing. It's not my area. In that area, I am following you. But in the other area, you are following me. Even we need to find where is an area where I can even close my eyes and I will still do it.
That's your strength.
Okay. I want you to speak on the growing up because you made mention of that before. Because people need to understand that just because that is the way it is, doesn't mean that you just start today, oh, you know everything. No, no, no. That is not, no. Okay, I'll give you a short example that I will let you respond to that. In my village where I grew up, there is a man we usually would call Ojogun. Ojogun, okay, there is a lot of explanation there. I don't want to go into that. What is the meaning of Ojo? What is the meaning of Ogun? Because that is, all these things really need content. That is why, Obehi podcast is a little bit long. Because we don't want to throw information out for people because they don't understand it. We need to break it down. Okay, we don't have time for that today. So Ojogun, he was a goldsmith, the guy who does iron work. He can prepare gun, he can prepare knife, he can prepare your trap and all lot of feed. Okay, because he was also having a little bit of problem on the leg, he wasn't going very far, so he was always doing that. Okay, what am I trying to say with that by mentioning this guy Ojogun? Is late now, may so rest in peace again. Because he was always doing this work every day, he was so perfect in it that he could actually close his eyes and still repair your trap. I can just see the man in my mind now because I'll be there a number of times. He have a little this local way of preparing fire. We call it a share, something like that. Where we call it okay. The shop is called Ugohame. Ugohame is where the Ojogun works. He was so good that he can do it anytime, any day. He stayed there. He gets there very early and he leaves there very late. Which is to say that there is no question you're going to ask that he will not be able to answer because that is his gift. Or at least that is the one that he have developed. For you to be able to master your craft, you need to spend the time, pay the sacrifices, the growing up in leadership. Talk to us about that, please.
Absolutely. That story is so rich, and you haven't even shared the bulk of it. Yes, the main thing is I can have a skill, but if I don't develop that skill, then what is going to happen to me? I'm going to have, it's like there's an analogy that is drawn when we study the Bible. And funny enough, I learned this in a management class. Imagine yourself being given multiple gifts and you tuck them all away in a cupboard or a closet somewhere. And every time you open the door, you look at your gifts, you admire the number of gifts you have, and you close that door and you continue living your life in a mediocre manner, just existing in that day. And then you are called upon at the end of your life to give an account for all the gifts that you were given. What did you do with, knowledge? What did you do with your ability to cook? What did you do with your ability to write? What did you do with your ability to lead people, to teach, to do math, to be a goldsmith, right? And I didn't know I had that. I just saw this big room of things and it looked pretty and I closed the door every day. That is how many of us live our lives. We know that we like to do something or we are good at something, but it's just by the way. I'm going to go to my 9 to 5 and I'm going to just do what my boss says, and then I'm going to come back home and I'm going to stare at a screen with moving pictures and sound, and then I'm going to go to bed and I'm going to get up, eat, and do it all over again. That is mere existence. We are meant to live. We are meant to thrive. And we are meant to take the seeds that have been planted in us, plant those seeds, water them, and nurture them, practice, and to have them grow into qualities and skills and knowledge that we can now, again, share. Just like the mango tree gives me its delicious fruit, because I love mangoes. The tree, as you said, cannot do anything with the fruit. If it falls to the ground, it's going to create another tree. So there is even multiplication in what seems to be wastage when a mango falls to the ground uneaten. But while it's on the tree, the birds will get at it before me so that I have to cut that part off. I'm just telling you what I do, right? And that bird takes back some to its nest and feeds its kids, and, little bird chicks or whatever you call them, baby birds. When it falls to the ground and it breaks down, it adds nutrients to the soil. When you give of your gift, you are giving not only to those in front of you, but you don't know the multiplicative, the ripple effect that sharing your gift has. But if imagine if that mango tree were to say, I'm not bearing any fruit because I can't use it and it's of no use to me, so it's of no use to anything. Then the owner of that tree, if it's not growing in the wild, is going to cut it down because it's of no use. You have to make yourself useful, but you have to know, recognize what you have. I could sit here and say, oh, I love to be on social media and I love to write. What do you write? Oh, nothing. I just read what's on social media and I like what they write. And I could write that too, but I don't do any of it. I could create content, but they're creating content, so I'll just absorb what they have there and I have nothing. I don't need to give it. But the impact of that knowledge that I have in the environment around me, the frequency on which I could communicate, someone else is out there waiting for that information. Someone else is out there waiting for that encouragement. Someone else out there is waiting for that knowledge to do that thing. Or just to see someone like me, looking like me, sounding like me, doing a thing, so that they can go, well, you know what? Why can't I do it? And to activate what is in them. Sometimes you're a catalyst and you don't understand the impact you have on the people around you. Growth looks like taking one step at a time. And that step could be a half step even, but not being so grounded and rooted in you that you can't see around you, and the value that you if you stay in one spot, you're not going to know what is on the other side of that wall or that door. You're not going to have the relationship and share information. And sharing information, Obehi. We have shared information so much so that I didn't even realize the value of the information I had. But in sharing that information, what was reflected to me was, this is good. I can now take this and build something with it. And when you share, oh my goodness, I need to do this because this has just opened up an entire new world, a door opened. Sharing information has a synergistic effect. 1 + 1 is no longer 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 10, it's 100. Because there's a multiplicative effect in sharing. So when the mango tree drops that fruit and it grows into another tree, there's more fruit, more birds come around, more animals come around, more humans like myself who love chili mangoes come around. And when we come around, we start sharing with each other. And if you want to get really basic, when the bird eats the mangoes and the droppings go into the soil, it nourishes the soil so that other trees can grow, other types of trees, other plants, herbs for medicine that saves a life in a village somewhere where they don't have a pharmacy. When you think of the cycle of nature, it's a sharing, it's a shedding of leaves, it's the roots spreading, it's water being, flowing underground, water flowing underground to feed the trees. The trees are grown, the birds make their nests, and nests give, create homes. The homes have eggs, that go into other chicks, and animals climb, and it has this multiplicative effect of creation. And we are part of creation. And in us is a seed, and that seed has to be planted somewhere. If I keep all the seeds and Dr. Miles Monroe's book on potential is so amazing because it speaks about one of his opening lines is this: cemeteries, graveyards are so rich with potential because many of us do not tap into that potential and we die with it.
Unfortunately.
And what does it benefit anyone? So growth is necessary, but growth only comes from taking that seed and planting it, watering it. And sometimes you, Obehi, will water the seed. I will water the seed for you. And then we see things growing and we're amazed at what it can grow into. We Diaspora is really one of those things. I am amazed at what this thing is growing into. It is amazing the reach it has, the potential it has. And the more we add seeds to it and we water each other's ground and we pull on each other's knowledge, and sometimes you need to pull knowledge out of someone. And when you do that, that is when you see you, the person who is being pulled on. But wait, I didn't realize I could do this too. There's more in me. Let me seek more knowledge so that I can build on that. Think of your life as a house. You have to dig first. People start with the foundation, but how do you set your foundation? You have to dig. You have to excavate. You have to remove things that are in the way. And then you build your foundation, solid foundation of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, that life that we live. And because of that now, we create these walls. We can build on that. We can put windows that people can see in and out. And then now we can accommodate people. We have this space. We've just made this space to accommodate. And then we cover them because while we're growing, we need cover, we need protection.
I
So
love
we
that.
can
I love
cover
that.
them.
I love that.
Our lives are so meaningful.
I look at it like a big baobab tree, but it's also symbolic.
My God,
In
yes.
2015, I wrote this book that I titled "I Mended a Stream Water." So the book actually started with a storytelling where the storyteller Okpuje, who happened to also be the leader of the community, Okpuje, his name is Okopuje. So his house is built under a dominary tree, the way I describe it. Ovu in my language. Ovu is a big tree. The like of look like a baobab, but not really baobab. But because it's kept in an open space, so people can sit under it. The canopy, of course, covers you. So, of course, in the night now, you don't need the canopy because there is no sun. But because people are used to it, they come there in this particular story now, because the man built his house under this dominary tree in the front of the village. So the children, every evening, they go there to listen to his story. Every evening, they go there to listen to his story. Therefore, the tree become a symbol of uh, of of connection of many people. So this is how I see with diaspora. I was explaining to one of our executive member that this is something that everybody need to pour something on. Need to come and water
Mm-hmm.
for it to grow because it cannot grow on its own. Like Man Moro said in the book you were making mention of, the cemetery is actually where you have the biggest idea, but they will never be manifested. Because
Never.
if we manifest all the idea that we have, this world will literally become gold.
Absolutely.
In the book, the science, not the science of getting rich. No, it's the science of getting rich, actually. I would say it's not the Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. The book is titled The
No.
Science of Getting Rich, written in 1910 by Walter Wallace. Walter Wallace was saying that everything that we need to build the most magnificent city wall is in our brain.
That's right.
There is a thinking substance that is responsible for everything. All we just need is to find the dot that we need to connect. Okay, before I will say we're making mention of the situation in Nigeria, which is really very precarious. Now, we can flip that around now, looking at asking people to find their part in it. That perhaps all this thing is happening because there is somebody who is going to take the right decision, or all of us are
Yes.
going to take our right decision in our various areas. So we need to ask ourselves now, what am I supposed to do now? Because you cannot tell me that what you can do is to just criticize. Maybe you are supposed to take action. You see, it's long time ago that electricity was invented. It should be shameful that today in Nigeria and many other places in the world, people still sleep in darkness. It is impossible that we have all these universities, we still cannot figure it out. You don't even need a lot. You don't need a lot. Honestly, you don't need a lot because the manual is there. All we just
Correct.
need to do is to probably encourage people to apply. You don't need to invent anything at all about electricity because it has been
Just
invented, it has been tested many, many times.
correct.
All you just need to do is to say, we want to apply. Otherwise, the university we are building in Nigeria are useless because they are supposed to solve the problem of the society. He said, what we do, we develop students who are very smart and they end up finishing in the United States. They are in the United States, in Europe, in Canada. No, these students are supposed to be trained to solve the problem of Nigeria, using Nigeria as a reference. That it should be shameful that we still live in the time of 2,000 years ago when it is dark, everybody go to sleep. When it is bright, everybody run out to work. Okay, I can understand that it's ecological understanding there and all of that, but we are living in a different time. We should be able to also develop train. Train was also invented many years ago, built after a very small animal called the millipede, because the millipede have very many legs and it's able to walk
Yes.
a lot of distance. We just manipulate it a little bit. Now we can build a structure, put an engine on it, and it works. You can use electricity. You can also use gas. All these are
Power.
developed in major cities. How come we cannot do it in Enugu, in Lagos, in a small town too? People, it doesn't cost a lot of money.
Correct.
Okay, look for example, because if you go around to look at all the invention of men, and by the way, there are a lot of Nigerians very good in this, including working in the aeronautic in the United States. Or what we are saying that
Yes.
why can't we do it in Nigeria? Take for example, F-35. Okay, let us talk about war. Let us talk about military jet. Let's talk about just the idea of a human being flying in the air.
Wow.
We can
Yeah.
say that, okay, we were not able to do this day, but what about now? You can go to internet and just basically download it. And you say, okay, I need 1,000 students cut off from Nigeria. I will sponsor them. I will tell them to experiment. I give you the permission to fail. Go and experiment on this idea. They're already there. You can download them from the website of the United States or Russia or China. Now you empower the people to build the new modern Nigerian military hardware. I am paying for it as a country because I want to lead
That.
the people somewhere. Tomorrow we'll be able to
That.
defend our territory. But today, we still need to ask, can the United States defend us? Can't Trump help us? For God's sake, how can
Oh,
Trump come to help us? Trump
let
should
me
help
tell you.
America.
Exactly. Exactly. Let me tell you something. You said something very key there, Obehi. We're talking about the suppression of resources. In early days, people came together, pooled their resources, and created things out of that, pushed knowledge, taught people. Actually, there's this story that I heard recently where I believe it may be Cambodians, I could be wrong, but they went to the United States and this one guy was taught to make donuts. And so he was then given the resources from the owner of that donut shop where he was taught to make donuts as a refugee. And he opened his own donut shop. And what did he do? He actually got more of his fellow refugees, pulled them in, and taught them to make donuts. And then he multiplied, he replicated what was done for him. He gave them resources and he let them open their own donut shop. And the one thing that they needed to do was multiply, to replicate that pattern. So that in the US, there were so many donut shops opened by this one people. We fail to do that. That is a template that we need to follow as a people. Whether you're in the Caribbean, which is my homeland, whether you are in the Western world, whether you are on a continent or in Europe, we as a people do not harness our resources together. Each one teach one, and then support the growth, and then multiply. The mandate is to multiply. Every other ethnic group does that. And I understand that it is because of the impact of the slave trade, but because that is not the nature of the continent. The nature of the continent was always the village and building the village and the resources of the village. But we lost that. We lost our way. And so now we're looking to, you talk about going to Canada and the US and Europe to make our money, because we've lost our way. We've been told that that is where the value is, that is better than what we have. And when we get it, we want to live the lives that we see, but we forget that where we come from is important. We need to water the ground where we came from. So we have to take what we learn now and go back. And that is the problem that we're having. We're not going back. We're not going back to our families to teach them. We're not going back to our villages. We're not going back to our schools. One of the things that I find very difficult to do, even if you want to go back, you're not accepted. We don't see the value in ourselves and in our own. So I want to teach, I want to lecture, I want to motivate young people, let's say. I want to go back to universities and speak to them about my upbringing, where I came from, what I've been able to achieve with what little I was given. And that they, having so much more to begin with, can do so much more. I want to motivate young people in schools across the world that you can do it. You can be more than people say that you can be. There's an innate quality in you. I want to go back, but I'm not accepted. We accept only that which we understand. And if we don't understand it, we reject it. And we do not look for the value in it. Especially, Obehi, when we look like ourselves. We've been brainwashed into believing that if it doesn't look like us, it is good. That is the biggest mistake as a people that we are making. So we Diaspora is a collection of these great minds and thinkers and philosophers and advisors and teachers and builders and leaders and entrepreneurs that is coming together. And what is growing out of that is amazing. The value and the cross-sectionality of it, because we're coming from all different parts of the world. That is why I'm there, because I see the vision that I was given being manifested in this space. It's a vision I was given, but it's not because there's this one thing that, that I have to do and it's my vision, so I keep it. No, when I share, because the vision is for the people. So when I share my vision, then the people can take it and run with it. That is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2 and 3. We share the vision, we write the vision, we make the vision accessible so that others can see themselves in that vision and do that part. That's what you have done with Diaspora. The vision for the book, it wasn't my vision, but I sat there and I started writing. And what was in me poured out. What I saw was poured out. And so now someone can pick it up, read it, and do something. Be more than they thought they could be. Lead in a way that they now understand the integrity of leadership, the value of building people in leadership, walking in that space that you create light and a path. Follow me as I follow Christ. And when you follow me, someone else is going to follow you. Discipleship. Discipleship is not just a spiritual thing, it's a life thing. I disciple young people who want knowledge, who want to build a business. I disciple them. I teach them. I mentor them. We're getting confused with the words. We're thinking that because it's in the Bible, it's not applicable to everyday life, but it is. The principles are applied in the world, in the secular world, and we see the fruit of it, but we forget the root of it. And we try to actually emulate what we're seeing in the world without having a root that absorbs the nutrients from where it is being fed. So, Obehi, we need to trust ourselves and we need to build ourselves because nobody's coming to do it for us. Nobody's coming to rescue us. We need to be the rescue. We need to be the vision that we want to see. And we hear that so many times.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks to from whatever we are joining us. We are one that we have I sort of come to
Yes.
because I really believe that to be. And that again, well realize we have different gifts. And all these different, they look at it like we need to collective force, the making sure that this baobab tree, because when it grows, then we can hide under it. And if it's raining, we can hide under it. But we are the one that build it. We are the baobab tree. I am just one little, the other one is the fruit, the other one is the little flesh in it. All of us put together make up of this baobab tree. It will not fail because all of us are together. We are not smart enough, but it's okay. Because we are together, we can leverage the power of the group. That is the idea. That is the feeling.
Power of the collective. Yes. Absolutely.
We will overcome. We are not
We will.
want to make some other person feel bad. We are doing want to save ourselves.
Yes.
We are doing this because we want to help ourselves. That is it. If there is any that helping ourselves is a bad thing, well, I'm sorry, I don't want to tell you, but our job is to fight you. Our job is ourselves. That's why
Cells.
we help each other.
It's legacy. It's legacy. What is the legacy we're leaving? If I do nothing, I leave nothing. But I have people behind me. I have people coming up with me. So I have to share, and whatever legacy I leave is a legacy that they will follow. What they see, they will follow. We talk about ancestors, but what did our ancestors leave us, and what are we doing with it? We talk about gifts. What are we using our gifts for? To benefit us and nobody else? And the thing about it is, Obehi, when we build ourselves, and I speak to all ethnic groups, when we build ourselves as a people, who do you think is going to benefit? Not just us, because our value, what we have to bring to the table, is a global table, the multi-ethnic table, so that I am of value to everyone around me, when I am a better person, I actually contribute to the economy. I contribute to education. I contribute to bringing into this world citizens who are then contributing in addition to what I am contributing. So there's a multiplicative effect when I share. I've always lived by the words, knowledge is the one thing, when it's divided up, it multiplies. There's more of it. It doesn't become less. So it is beneficial, I would think, for everyone to support me in my growth. It is beneficial to you. It is beneficial to those who are before us and those who are to come. So when you suppress a people, you're suppressing yourself.
Thank you so much. That is where we come to the end of the conversation. But before then, how they can find this book, and then how they can look forward to they can have. That is important.
I would love to do that. So the book, David, A Handbook on Leadership, is being launched on June 17th, 2025. It will be available on Amazon, and it's distinct in its presentation, so that cover, you're not going to miss it. And it's part of a two-part series. The first part is a reference book. So you can put that in your bag, walk around with it, have it on your desk. And that's the one with, holding hands. You will see that being shown here. But the new publication, the one that I'm really excited about for this season, is the study guide, the expanded version of David, because it's a study of David and the qualities that he brought to the people of Israel as king, as leader, but as a human being who was so broken in the way he lived his life. But because of what he believed, because of the God that he served, because of the integrity in him, he was able to lead a people into victory after victory after victory. And so when you're leading in your home and when you're leading in your school and in your place of work, you want to have this study guide. When you're doing Bible study at church, when you're doing development programs in the office, this book called David, A Handbook on Leadership, with the expanded version and study guide, is what you want to have at hand, available on Amazon. And if you wish to get copies and you're close to me in any way, you can reach out to me, info@lrramirez.com. So it's info@lrramirez.com. You can email me, and that email will be shared with you on the screen, and you can request your copies. If you have a group and you want to buy at a reduced cost, send me that email. I will make sure that your group can afford to get this in your hand, because on the shelves is of no value. It's knowledge stored, but knowledge shared. It is available to you, so I want to make it accessible to all groups of all economic dispositions. Available on Amazon and by reaching out to me. And I'm so excited for you to learn more about it. And I will also be doing quarterly studies on the book from that book, so that you can join me online and we can have a good time delving into the goodness that there is in it.
Thank you so much for that. Of course, all of you that are listening, you now know that it is possible for you to be able to get a copy of it. You can get it on Amazon. We already shared the link there on the screen. But we also share the link in this video on how to get a link. But that is a better way to actually get it. Reach out to Lenore. She will be able to let you know. Maybe, for example, you have a group and you want to buy for everybody. It can even be a gift to people. Why not?
Absolutely.
So you can reach out to her and she will let you know how to get the book on your hand and then take it forward from there. We want you to take action. Just reading it is not enough. Just reading is getting the information. That is called potential information. Actually, potential power.
Potential
How
power.
you get the real
Exactly.
power is the translation, when you take action, because action is the most important force in the entire world. If you don't take action, it's just going to be the same, like yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Standing in one spot and doing nothing. And we have started a book club, and it's not just a book club. It's on Facebook, and it's Soleil Legacy Women. And in that space are like-minded women who are entrepreneurs, who are professionals, and who are leaders in their own spaces. And we discuss things, and we read, and we share knowledge. And for me, being a financier, I share information on budgeting, information on financial analysis, and all these little things, whatever value you can bring to that group. And we also discuss the book, because we have a tiny book club going in there that I'm so excited that is actually growing. So we invite you to join as well. Reach out to me and I can share all that information with you.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much, Lenore. And thank you also for you
Thank
that
you,
have listened to
Obehi.
the end of this episode today. If you are not yet subscribed to this channel, I encourage you to do so. We realize that most of the people that are actually listening to this episode, they have not yet listened to Obehi podcast, they are not yet subscribed. We ask you why. It is simple. It doesn't cost anything. Just subscribe and ring the bell so that next time a new episode is coming, you will be notified of that, because it means you are interested in it. So subscribe to this channel and also share with other people who might be interested in it. You know what we are talking about here? We're interested in us being able to help ourselves, build up ourselves, and help each other in the community. That is what we are interested in. Don't make the mistake of not subscribing. We thank you so much for being here, and talk to you next time.
Thank you, Obehi.
Thank you, Lenore. It's been a pleasure here. Thank you very much, sister.